Okay, I'm going to start off by showing you the second deck, which we finished. We've put on. We let dry at least overnight. As you see, it's got a beautiful shine on it. Probably down to my inexperience, I have got a little line through the middle. I'm going to go with that. If I was an expert level, I would be a little bit upset with that. But that's fine. I'm okay with it. So the next thing we want to do is this is going to be a little bit stop-start. We've got piece number 18, which I've taken out, and I've just taken the notches off, and I've done a test fit. It's going to go here. Now, when I did the test fit, I got the ruler and I measured it, and I felt that was a little bit raised, and I think it was raised because these veneer strips are 0.5 mil, which obviously is going to raise it a little bit. So I've taken a little bit down off these bit, and I've only taken just a little bit at a time until I've got the desired level. And what I've done, you can see how I've got a ruler, and I'm just running the ruler, and you see it's actually still a little tiny bit too high, but I think if it's too high I can just take this down. So what we want to do is glue this onto here like that. And that's going to create an extension of this piece number 6. You see that most of these pieces come up, but number 6, it kind of stops abruptly there, and that's because of the second deck. And what that's going to do is just cover that up like that. Obviously the main important thing we've got is we want to keep this at 90 degrees, and I think the best way to get this at 90 degrees is on each side we're going to get 2 scrap pieces of wood, and when we glue that on, we'll place one side there and one piece there, and we can just get our clamp, and we can clamp one underneath onto the long piece and then one onto the top with where the 2 pieces are, and you see that will then hold that at 90 degrees. Obviously we'll put a piece there as well. The only downside to that is we're going to have to be quite exact with our glue, because if we pop any glue along here and any spills out, it will then stick to our scrap pieces of wood, and then we'll struggle to get those off. So let's give it a go and see how we get on. It may not stick too well here where the varnish is, or I suppose we could actually just give that a light, let's give it a light sand. Not with that though. And then what we just want to do is just remove the varnish so that the wood glue will stick wood to wood. There we go. And we shouldn't need too much filing because they are thin coats of varnish. In fact, actually maybe it's the varnish that's brought the level up too high. You know, if there's 0.5 mil thick of varnish, I'm just going to put the ruler there just to guide the file. Because obviously this bit that we're filing, that will be covered up by the wood. I've just got this bit on the end to do, and I'm not going all the way to the join line. There we go. Just, you can see that there's a little line there where now it's not quite so shiny. So I'm going to get our glue. We're going to figure out where the join lines are. So I think what we'll do, we'll apply the glue to this. That'll give us a bit more control, and where we think there's too much glue, we can then wipe it off. So I'm going to go quite minimal if I can get this glue to work. Might just be this little dried, there we go, might be a little dry bit of glue on the top. So always test fitting every time. Go, and I'm going quite minimal. If we don't put enough glue on, it won't stick, and then we'll just take it off and we'll just pop some more glue on, and if we put too much on, it's just going to make a mess everywhere. Oh, I'm really struggling here. I can't get this glue out. I suspect I've got some dry glue in there. Yeah. Okay, I might have to do a cutaway. I didn't want that much. Did not want that much. So that's wasted glue, isn't it? Never mind, I'd rather waste the glue there than on here. So make sure all of the points of contact have got glue on them, and I'm looking for this to be white, just about to go clear. So we have got working time here, but I want to be quite swift. So that onto there, and that's sticking quite well actually. So we want longer piece here with, oops, I got the wet. So longer piece here with one clamp, and you see then that's going to stop the piece of wood going that way. In fact, while I'm here, I'm going to put the other side on as well. So that goes across there. Sorry if you can't see me. And then we have a second piece of wood which we place on the other side, and you see this piece of scrap has gone, it's covering both the top and the bottom, but this one is only just covering the top. And what that should do, in fact actually I'm just going to lift the piece of wood off, so that should minimize. So you see here I've got a scrap piece of wood that goes all the way down, and I've got it clamped at the bottom. In fact, we actually want to just bring that up just a little bit more, just so it's got a better, there we go. And then what I'm doing on this side is I'm placing this piece of wood in, but I'm not going all the way to the bottom. And then we just clamp those three at the top together, and I will leave that overnight. Hopefully that will have done the job. Give it a visual check. I've got a hair there for some reason, and let's get the ruler out. I mean, this isn't an exact way of measuring, but I would say that is pretty good. I'm happy with that. It's not perfect, but we've got points of contact being made. Not too much glue sticking out, and yeah, I'm happy with that. So we'll give that an overnight drying. Okay, so I've let this dry at least overnight, so let's remove the clamps, and with any luck these haven't stuck. So remove this clamp, and obviously what we did is we put these scrap bits of metal in to try and hold that at 90 degrees, and I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. I think that's about 90 degrees. So that is piece number piece number 18. So the next thing we want to do is put on piece number 19. Now, normally I would dry fit. I've not had a chance to here because obviously this has been drying. So it looks like we can't get these on a straight line. They're going to be bent slightly, which could be interesting. I just want to double check I'm still doing the right bit. Piece 19, glue them on. So you've got this lip here, needs to go into this little gap from piece 18. So, and obviously because I've not got the whole pieces in, the little frame isn't holding it that steady, so it's making it a little bit harder, but it looks like we can manipulate that. Oh dear. Okay, that's just come off. That's not good. So These are actually quite flexible anyway. Right, so I may have to do a little bit of a fix it here. If I get the two middle notches in, and then I can bend this one in a bit, I may end up not even gluing this, especially if it goes in okay. So we'll pull the middle bit out. Obviously once these all work, are all pushing against each other, they will stiffen all up quite easily. Right, okay, I am struggling here. So let me move some things out of the way. Obviously if this piece 18 comes too loose, I am going to have to glue. So I wonder if perhaps I should have put this through the plank bender. There we go, that's better, that's coming. Just got to get these first pieces in. Okay. So I've never done this before. I don't know if there's an easy or a hard way to do it. You know, I may be doing it the hard way. Right, okay. So trying to put a straight piece of wood through a bent area isn't working too well for me. Okay, I've got these two bits in a little bit. I'm going to try and manipulate this one around a bit. And this one. Ah, there we go. That's starting to go. Okay, so okay, so you see I've had to just bend that slightly to go through the grooves. So that's fine. So we've done one now. So maybe this one will be a little bit easier. So I think we need to kind of bend it in the middle, but not bend it so much that it's going to break. That really is the trick, I feel. Maybe we should have put piece 18 on after we put piece 19 in. Right, I might want to just turn this around. I've probably got my arm in the way rather a lot. And of course it could also be that the reason it's so difficult is because perhaps I've not lined the pieces up correctly when I was gluing them in. You know what it's like, you do a mistake early on and then that affects the build later on, because if you haven't glued the part in exactly the right place, it doesn't line up ready for the next piece. So there we go. I'm finding if I'm slightly rougher with it, it's actually working. I have to be the boss, not the other way round. So there we go. It's just gently manipulating it. So that's all good. I guess I could apply some glue in there if I wanted to. So what we need to do now is I'm going to turn it round because I'm finding it easier to work here. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing with part 20. And I've actually measured these. I don't think there's any difference between which way round. There is a difference. So one of these little notches is slightly bigger, and I believe that this is the bigger notch. Best way to do it is just hold this in there upside down. That looks like it's the right size. That looks too big. So I'm going to lay these in here. Oh, even these are struggling. So it looks like if you don't get these bits that go across in exactly 90 degrees, it's not the end of the world, but it's made the job a little bit harder. So that's one in. So we just measure. That looks too small and that's too big. So So I aim to put the middle ones in first, and then we just gently persuade the outside edges to come in. And there we go. And that's obviously added a lot more support. Now pieces 21, they're going to require, so I'm just turning this around again. What 21 is going to do, if you can see here, these are actually going to be added onto here, and this is going to obviously add something to the front. Now what I've noticed is in a later stage you're going to have to be bringing some planking in, and you need to leave a gap of 4 mil. So I'm guessing the reason for this is, I'll just get my calipers out and switch that on. So if we measure that, you can see that this wood is about 4 mil. So I'm guessing what's going to happen is, the reason we want these pieces on is so that when we bring the planks round, we don't want to stick it to this piece here. What we want to do instead, once we've got these on, we're going to be sticking the planks to these pieces, not the middle, so that will leave the gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the wood glue out, I'm going to position these on, and then I'm going to lay a clamp on them. Lay a clamp, I'm going to clamp them. So do as many dry fits as you want. I think this is probably about my 15th dry fit. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue. This glue is definitely running out now. It's funny, you see a 50 ml tub and you're tempted to think, oh, that's plenty, you know, and I've only done what, 4 or 5 stages and I'm running out already. And I do actually like this wood glue. I have actually gone out and bought some allegedly better wood glue that's got a much faster drying time, but to be honest with you, I quite like this slow drying time, because it gives me more time. You see that the first piece has gone on, but I'm confident that I can carry on moving that around if I need to. So what I want to do, I want to get a scrap piece of wood. I want to push those up so that they're level, and then I want to run it down just so that I know that that is running along the line that I want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a clamp there, and that's actually brought it out a little bit. I don't think it will matter if it comes out a bit, because the next stage is going to be sanding. But obviously if it slips up or down, I think that could cause us a problem. You will notice also I've written, you won't notice because it's too much light. I have actually written the numbers on the pieces. There's 1 or 2 that's actually got the numbers printed on them, but not all of them. And this is because what I've done is I've got all my pieces out ready, and obviously I don't want to muddle them up. Obviously most of these pieces are the same, are different, but you know, you don't know that till you get them off the sprue. So the next stage is stage 22, or piece number 22, and I'm going to do a dry fit first. But what they're going to do, the next 3 pieces are going to go along the back. So 22 will go in like that, do you see there? And it might actually be easy if I work this way. So there's piece 22. Let me move the camera a little bit. Right, there's piece 22. There's piece 23. And there's piece 24. So now the back is beginning to take shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove those. I'm looking at where the contact point will be. So there's going to be a contact point there, and one there, and there, and there, but not along there. It's going to create a gap. So there we go, that's in there. And in actual fact, I've noticed, sorry, I have that wrong. There is actually a contact point along there, because what I've only just this moment noticed, which is another good reason for doing a dry fit, is that there's actually some grooves along there, and that's where you're going to insert these pieces. So 23 will go right in, and make sure you get that right in, and then that should hold that, because there's more points of contact. So because we missed those on the first dry fit, I'm going to do a second dry fit, because I have this frame, I have there we go, I actually missed a bit. I was about to say I have cleaned them up, but you know, you need to double check. So contact point there, contact point there, and contact point along there. And hopefully you will notice that I am using slightly less glue than when I did the workstation. So I don't think it matters which way round these pieces go. However, I'm gluing them in. These ones have got numbers printed on them, so I'm making sure I glue them all with a number up. So we'll dry fit this last piece for the back. That's perfect. Another piece there that I didn't clean up. I did clean them, I just obviously missed a bit. So contact point there. Now I learned something today from a painter decorator. I haven't put this to the test, but I wonder if anybody else knows this. I was told today that instead of using wood glue, use PVA glue. It does the same thing. The difference between wood glue and PVA apparently is that these top brand wood glues have certain chemicals in them, for example, to make them dry quicker. Well, I don't know if any of that is true or if it works. I haven't put it to the test yet, but it's an interesting theory, isn't it? So that is piece number 24 done, and that is the end of stage 3. So I'll just give that a moment, and then we'll work on stage 3.1. Okay, for the next stage we need the 2 part 25s. Sorry, the camera's over here. And these need to go in between pieces, so I can't remember the numbers. They need to go in between pieces 24 and 25. Now what's going to happen is this is going to go in 24, and this is going to go in 23. So if I can, you see you've got this piece here, and you've got that piece there, and that will slide in like that. So you see the tab there, and there's a tab there, so it's creating like a little box. And then we'll obviously do the same on the other side. I'm being very careful because these stands that I've got, they are designed to hold the boat once it's got the planks on the bottom. Because there's no planks on it yet, it's still working, it's still doing a good job, but it's not doing as good a job, so I just have to be a bit careful. So I would suggest that you do this fairly soon after the last pieces, because if the pieces have gone in, say for example a little bit at an angle, these are then going to push them into the correct position. So what I'm looking for is my contact points. So you've got, this will be along the far wall there, and then we've got these contact points there, and just a tiny bit into the corner there, and then in the corner there, and then we'll just spread a little bit along there. Don't need a lot of this glue, I've noticed, and in fact actually it is, I know it's a terrible cliche, but it's absolutely true. Less really is more. So that seems a little bit loose, so I'm just going to pop a tiny clamp on there, just to push the two together, and then we're going to do the same on this side. So this is going to slide in. Yep, that's perfect. So didn't quite clean that bit up properly. Little bit of glue along the top. So actually now when I keep saying, oh, this glue, it's not enough, maybe that's because I've been using too much, you know. So maybe this glue is going to now that I've learned to not use much glue, perhaps it's going to last me a long time. So there we go. I'm not feeling this side is needing a clamp, but I am going to clamp it purely because I've clamped the other side. That way then these have been given equal pressure. Okay, so the next bit I'm a little bit concerned about, I don't mind telling you. We've got these little side bits here, and we need to pop in this bit. Now, do I push it flush against the back and leave a gap at the front, or do I bring it level at the front and leave a gap at the back? I'm actually not 100% sure, I'll be honest with you, but I think that's because it needs to create a tab later on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to glue it at the back, because the reason I think that's a good guess is if it should actually been brought forward, what I can actually do, I'm going to try and scrape some of that glue off and apply it to the side. If we actually needed to bring that all the way to the front, I can always use a piece of scrap wood and I can make a piece. And I think that would be easier than if it's too far forward. So there we go, that's in, that's shoved right in. So I think that little notch there is supposed to be there. So test fit, always test fitting. So a little bit along the edge there. This is a little bit awkward because of the shape and size of it, but that's fine. And the great thing about using wood glue is that it doesn't matter if it gets on your hands. When you if you get super glue on your hands, it's a bit more of a disaster, isn't it? There we go. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that stage. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I apologise. I've got stage piece number 27 to go on next. Now, for that we need to turn the ship. I nearly said boat. Can you believe that? So I need to turn the ship the correct way up. And this piece, 27, is going to go in like this at an angle. If that makes any sense. It does to me. So I'm thinking about this now. I'm wondering if that's going to be okay. I may end up clamping it, because I think that might need just a tiny bit, but not too much support. But the problem with clamping it, this piece is actually at an angle. But we'll have a play. It also depends what piece 28 is doing, because by the time we finish this video, we'll actually have done all the way up to piece 32. So, do you know what? I think that's okay. I think that clamp would work. And we won't need that clamp for too long. We just need it until this piece becomes tacky. So, contact points. So along there, and along there, like so, into the corners. Make sure you get those corners, and if you want to put a little bit on the inside there, you can. I don't always bother, to be honest with you. I think there's enough points of contact there to not worry. So very, very light clamp there. It's really not hard at all. I don't want to tighten this too much. In fact, that one is, there we go. So that's stage piece 27. Now 28 looks a tiny bit confusing. That wants to go, doesn't actually make it clear where it's going. So we may have to try and work it out from the shape. And I think it's going to go on like that. So it's actually going to go upright. So what I'm going to do, yeah, take parts, fit and glue part 27 to the false kit. Right, okay, so it says take parts 28. Yeah. Right, so part 28 is actually going to be part of the next page of instructions. So this is a really good opportunity for me to take a break, let this dry a little bit, have a look at some of these pieces that I haven't glued and see if they need gluing. 'Cause obviously a concern is if I haven't glued it, will they come out? I really don't think so. But in any case, I'll see you later. I'm going to actually go and make a cup of coffee. Okay, so I've let this rest for about 10 minutes. I've had a cup of tea and done all my little bad vices that I do. So although I wouldn't class this as fully dry, I think it's dry enough to remove the clamps, which obviously means then we can reuse them for other stages. So we'll remove the front one first, and that's slightly off, but that's not going to be a problem because we are going to be sanding in the next stage. I will warn you, actually, the next episode is going to be a bit of a slow issue in terms of the amount of work we do. This is because some of these stages, they take so long, so I'm just doing some other little bits. The previous stage where we did the lower deck, that actually took 9 days to film, and obviously if I'm doing a video every 9 days, it's not going to be a weekly update. So we're going to crack on with this, and then we'll do more maintenance more than anything else. So that clamp's come off. Now this is the one I'm worried about the most. So if this has worked fine, it's just that there's not really much support, and that's actually pretty good. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, I'm not going to pull it. I can see that the glue is still white. You can't see that because of the light, but yeah, the glue, there's a little bit of ooze come out and it is white, so we know that that's not fully dry. These bits are looking okay. I'm happy with those, and I've actually done a dry fit of what I'm about to explain, and that makes me think that these pieces, I've actually put them in correctly. So let's move on, and this is going to be a very fiddly bit. To give you an idea, this is piece 28, this is piece 29, and this is piece 30, and this is piece 31. There's actually two there, I haven't separated them yet. So there's piece 31, and then we eventually get a larger piece which is 32, which will finish the build off. So I've had a little look at this, and it obviously, in case you haven't noticed, you get numbered parts, and it's going from 1 upwards. So obviously 28 will be put in before 29, which should be put in before 30. However, I'm going to do it slightly differently. The reason being is that 28 is going to go in like this. That's fine, that's not going to be a problem. And if we want to, we can clamp it as well. I don't think it will need it. 29 goes in like so, and then piece 30 goes on. I don't know if you can see that. That's going to go on and then rest against piece 28. I think it's going to be a lot easier if we put piece 30 onto piece 29, and then I don't know which way around that goes, and then glue these onto there. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Now I need to double check the instructions because I'm now no longer sure if I've done it correctly. So we'll do 28 first. Now you need to put these on so that this little protrusion is pointing away from the ship, and obviously this one is, that's where it's going to fit into 27. So we look for our contact points, and we've got a contact point there. I wish there was a way that we could store this face down. So contact point there, and there's going to be a contact point there, and there's going to be a slight contact point there, but not too much. So we'll pop that on. There actually isn't a contact point there. I've misjudged that. The contact point is there. So that's on fine. And then this obviously goes the same way. So we've got contact point. Trying to put as little glue on as possible. I put a little bit more on the last one than I wanted to, but not so much that it was a disaster. So contact point along there, and that's fine. Just put a tiny dab, not much. Probably just wipe the nozzle on there rather than actually squeeze some out. Now all of a sudden that doesn't fit. There we go. Right, there we go. So these are going to be too big. Now what I'm going to use this clamp for is I'm just going to clamp them down quite hard, and then I'm going to take it off. And what that should do is then just clamp them so that they're more parallel to each other. So on to piece number 29. Now, oh, it does actually say in the magazine to put this on. So we want this protrusion pointing forwards, but we want this protrusion pointing backwards, so that it looks like that, and then that will go on. Okay, double check the magazine, double check, and there we go, that's not correct. Okay, it looks like these are going to be, unless I've done it wrong, it should go that way. Okay, I've now got myself confused, so I may just have to double check this. I'm going to bring the camera in a little. Okay, we're going to finish off this video with 2 more pieces. I've left this for a little bit longer. A lot of this model is a case of do a small bit, take a break. Not because you want to take a break, but because you need to wait for something. I didn't want to risk knocking those. So what we're going to do, I'm going to work, rather than doing piece 31 then piece 32, I'm actually going to do one side then do the other. So what we need to do, we have a piece here next to piece 25, and we need to glue this piece in. This is piece 31, and that's going to go in like so. That doesn't want to go in. So double check in the magazine or the instructions. Yep, that is definitely, oh no. Yeah, that is right. Sorry, that was right. Maybe it goes that way. There we go. That's why we do. So we've got a right angle. That right angle needs to go in the corner. So we'll just lay this down carefully. Get a little bit of glue out. And so make sure the right angle is there. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edge with the glue, because as we push it down the glue is going to squidge a little bit, and we could clamp that if we wanted to. In fact, I tell you what, let's clamp it. In fact, let's not clamp it because it's not going to clamp. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to find, there we go, I've got a paintbrush. I can see a couple of people going sexy brush, because that's what watercolors call these. I'm just going to push that down with the edge of something. I'm using a paintbrush because this has got a pushy downy end. There we go. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take piece 32, and that's going to go in this corner here. I'm wondering if that is actually going to get rounded off at some point. Who knows? I haven't read the entire magazine. And this one I will clamp down, but I won't clamp it down until we do the other side. It's a case of I will clamp down if I can, because you know, I think it's better to clamp when you don't need to than to not clamp when you do. So I can actually see this is a little bit, just needs a bit more love and care. I didn't quite give it enough, so we'll just give it a little sand. This is why we dry fit. So that's going to go right in. So a little bit of glue, not too much. I mean, these stages are all called like stiffening, so I'm assuming these pieces are going to go in to strengthen it for what's going to come in the future. So push that down as much as I can, and then this piece, that's going to go in like so. That's fine. I'll see what I can do about the bright light for the next video. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to put a clamp in there, and we then just push that in again, just in case. That's trying to slip. That is desperately trying to slip. So what I'll do is I'll use one of these clamps. This is a much better clamp. It is stronger. There we go, that's actually pulled it out. So there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that clamp because it is trying. In fact, actually, I've just had a better idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp next to it. See there, so it's going to stop it from slipping, and then I'm going to place a clamp on it. Hopefully that clamp, perfect. Look at that. By having the clamp there, it's stopped, it's blocked it, it's held it in. So there's 2 clamps there, and then what we will do is we will leave that for another week. Now what I'm going to be doing next week, I had originally planned to do stages 4 and 5. Let me turn this light down. There we go. Stage 4 is sanding and preparing. Stage 5 is starting to do the planking. Now I'm going to be honest with you, there's quite a lot to stage 5. Some of these stages have taken an awful long time, and as a result I'm not achieving as much as I want to do. When I want to do like a weekly progress, and I've mentioned it before in the video, it's taken me like 8-9 days to do a video for a weekly progress. It's kind of a little bit too much. I like to do my hobby so that I do just a little bit each week. So what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to do the sanding. We're going to take lots of time doing that, and then what I'll do is I will introduce you to the figures, and we'll have a look at them, we'll sort them out, we'll make a plan of action for them, and then over the course of the next 140, 50, 200, how many videos it takes, we'll paint those figures. We're in no rush for the figures, because obviously with the ship's not even complete yet, so there's nowhere to put them, but you know, we'll make a little start on them. Okay guys, so that's it, and hopefully I'll see you next week. I hope you've enjoyed the video.